This episode is brought to you by Prime Video. In the small town of Holland, Michigan, nothing is ever what it seems. Behind the tulip festivals and pretty houses lay dark secrets that threaten to tear a marriage apart. Nicole Kidman stars in this darkly twisted thriller about a wife and mother whose quest to uncover her husband's secrets may get her more than she bargained for. Holland, streaming on Prime Video March 27th.
Welcome back to the Judge Jeanine Tunnel to Towers Foundation show. Joining us now is an immigration lawyer and former prosecutor. He is a fifth-term mayor of Englewood, New Jersey. His father was an immigration lawyer who represented John Lennon. He teaches at a law school. He is my favorite Democrat. And he has represented some of the Trump family. I won't say who in particular, but the Trumps rely on him. He is a phenomenal immigration lawyer, and I'd like to welcome Michael Wilders to the Judge Jeanine Tunnel to Towers Foundation show. How are you, Michael?
How are you, Judge? Thanks for having me. How are you, Judge?
Good. Oh, listen, you're a busy guy. I can't believe you have time to join us, but I am thrilled because I am out of my mind here with what's going on, not only on the college campuses, but with immigration itself. So you are an immigration lawyer par excellence. There's no one better than you. And folks, if anyone wants an immigration lawyer who actually knows what he's doing and is a straight shooter, and he hasn't given me a dime for this, but I truly trust this man, it is Michael. Now, Michael, I want to talk about students on a college campus who are here on a student visa. What are the conditions of a student visa? How long are they allowed to be here? And what are the requirements?
Super duper question. I teach a class on business immigration law at the Cardozo Law School in Manhattan, and I dissect the student visa for my students, and I'm happy to kind of break it down for your listenership as well. A person who goes to an American consul and wants to study in America has portended a narrative that they are not going to relinquish a domicile in a foreign country, that they will come to America and respect the terms of all of our laws, particularly our immigration laws. The Immigration and Nationality Act has a provision that in the best interest of the United States, the State Department secretary can actually castigate somebody for their politic if it's against our national security or interest. If they get arrested, there are other independent grounds for students. You have no idea how many students do foolish things. Some of them have like daddy issues, Judge, where they steal things at Sephora and they pay more of a consultation for me than the material that they stole.
Yeah. Yep.
But the American consul will then email them that their visa is canceled by operation of law because there's a very strong network into the criminal vector. So if a person comes to America, makes applications, does not tell them truth to power, if they do not say that they're married or single because they're trying to show that they have strong ties, they left a spouse behind but they lied, or they have a politic or an affiliation with something that's subversive and they're not transparent about it on the application forms, it can hurt them at a later station.
Very interesting. Okay. Well, you answered about 6 questions with that. So how long is a student visa generally good for, Michael Wilds?
It's as good as the Form I-20, which is the governing document. If a person goes for high school, for college, for a graduate degree, they're admitted for what's called, quote, D/S, end quote, duration of status that's associated with that Form I-20. They're actually required to carry that document wherever they go. For each ascending degree, they get 1 year practical training, and they have to go to their DSO, the designated school official, and make sure they certify that document when they move, when they get a job, when they want to travel, and that signature is only good for a period of time. These DSOs in the schools are partners with the SEVIS system that answers directly to ICE. Remember, all 19 hijackers in the 9/11 attacks were legitimate student visas. So the government is very wary and is partnering with schools who have an obligation to vet these people and to let the SEVIS system know that they missed school, they're not attending class, or they fell out of step with their obligations along the way. And when students travel sometimes and they go to places or they participate in things, that raise eyebrows. The government has other intelligence checks in the system, and they can try to ferret the bad eggs out. Sometimes they'll spot check people when they're traveling in and out, and they'll say to somebody, hey, you said you were going to go home. It looks like you have a bride magazine. Who are you marrying? If they say, I'm marrying a citizen, they have to get comfortable in their skin because they're showing an immigrant intent maybe by marrying a citizen, and they said they were going to go back home. So CBP officers, State Department officials at embassies, and school officials are all part of this chain of trust when it comes to foreign students.
Well, this chain of trust, a key person in there is this person, this term that I've never heard of before, a designated school official, or as you say, a DSO. Now,
That's
that
right.
DSO, how often would a student on a visa have to meet with the DSO?
Very regularly. Typically you'll see their emails give all sorts of instructions. Some of the students are very sharp. They're practically immigration lawyers before they come to America. Yeah. Imagine if they want a future onboarding into our workforce. It's a very challenging time, but these DSOs are really top flight. They ask me to do workshops with their foreign students. I don't even charge fees for these, how to onboard into the workforce for professional work visas like the H-1B, or if they have talent, the O visa and other ways to get in there.
But who does this designated school official work for?
They work for the school. They're paid by the school, and they're hired to muster with immigration.
All right, Michael Wilds, I'm going to assume that a designated school official, or a DSO as you call them, is kind of like a probation officer. And if they are supposed to be in touch with the student who's on a visa, and if that student is involved in any of the things going on, for example, like what we saw in the spring on Columbia campus and what's going on now at Barnard, they should be reporting this to ICE, right? Directly to ICE?
They should, but it's generally outside of the scope of what they would be responsible for. My daughter went to Columbia. Another daughter of mine went to Barnard. They're in their international school, and they're waiting for students to show up and ask questions. They're not out inspecting campus, walking around, and so forth. But, yes, if they have adverse information, they do have an obligation to put it into the SEVA system, but they're generally overwhelmed with the administrative tasks and not police officers in their task.
Okay. One of the things that you mentioned, Michael Wilds, is that, if they come, the conditions are that they're not going to relinquish, their allegiance to their own country, that they're going to follow the laws of this country, and that they plan to go home. But if they marry, they're indicating a different intent, but no one seems to care if they get married. So, for example, Mohammed Khalil. So this guy who Marco Rubio is looking to deport under the INA law, 327, he got married. We don't even know if he advised his designated school official, but that indicates an intent to stay.
That's right. But just because you marry an American citizen doesn't mean you're physically going to remain in America. It could very well be that they plan to go someplace else. The marriage itself is not proof positive that they breached their immigration, but it does raise eyebrows, and we caution people that are showing these kind of features when they're traveling in and out of America, when inspections will happen by proper CBP officers that are sworn peace officers and must investigate these kind of experiences. Certainly, when a person radicalizes or starts giving out literature with the Hamas symbol on it. This radical Islamism or wokeism, if you would, because that's what I compare it to, even as a Democrat, I have to tell you, reflects on our safety, our security. And these DSOs, police officers, CBP, everybody plays a role in kind of, if you see something, say something, so that eventually the record will be found to ICE. And so forth. So locking people in a room, intimidating Jewish students on campuses, this is poor conduct, not protected speech. A warping of the First Amendment is what we're seeing right now on television. Taking over a campus is not exercising free speech, and this kind of conduct is certainly actionable. I do not believe it to be the responsibility of the DSO. Frankly, I believe it to be the responsibility of the mayor and the governor of the state of New York. As a mayor myself, I believe that they abdicated it by saying it's a campus, we can't touch it. And again, the president stepped up. The president stepped up in a significant laudatory way by saying this is unacceptable conduct. I'm pulling your financial strengths, and I'm going to deport somebody because you have no sense of hospitality in this country. If you're not going to respect our rules until you have the golden grail of citizenship, you will be deported if you step out of line with our nation's security and so forth.
All right. So, but Michael, what we see are people en masse in Trump Tower this week. We saw them. And, you've got Democrats in Congress standing up, and whether it is, I think it was Dick Durbin, who said this is straight up authoritarianism. You would think, Michael Wilds, that the people in Congress would know what the laws say. And I want to kind of drill down on this before I let you go. INA Section 237A4C. There is no requirement that a crime be committed for the Secretary of State, in this case Marco Rubio, to come out and say, I want to deport you. And yet we're going through theater in the Southern District of New York where they're bringing a habeas corpus and they're arguing free speech, and they think he has the right to say whatever he wants. Can you explain why that's crazy?
Sure. So a few things. First of all, and we don't know this yet, if the gentleman lied on his student visa, on his green card application, through the marriage case, or anything, that can be used to rescind his green card for the pure fraud that he may have committed. We don't know that. Right now, it doesn't seem to be an allegation. Number two, had he been convicted of a crime, and it doesn't look like they're prosecuting him for a crime, that would be actionable. Right. The third thing is what's happening here. Now, let me kind of pull the drone or the lens back on the landscape. We have been fighting since the Alien and Sedition Acts in the 1700s, pirates on the high seas and terrorism internationally. We're hundreds of years old. This is common for police officers, for mayors, for governors, and for presidents to take charge of public safety. Shame on anybody, Democrat or Republican, if they don't understand our national security and interest has to be there, and a tool in our toolbox, one that gives the greatest risk takers and entrepreneurs a bite at our economy by helping foreigners who we need here stay, is just as strong a tool when we use our Immigration Act to protect ourselves. I wrote a book called Safe Haven in America, Battles to Open the Golden Door. I believe fundamentally, as many, that America's door is on a hinge. So we can open it to the greatest risk takers, entrepreneurs, and talent, and we can slam it shut or deport people that would cause us harm. And this is clear. This is not protected speech. Yep. They're warping that First Amendment. This is conduct that's unbecoming our nation's security. And until you're a citizen, you have to be more humble in the way you express yourself. And listen, let me say this. Expression is a matter of respect and tolerance. I'm an Orthodox Jew myself. I keep the Sabbath. I don't care if somebody prays on a Friday, a Saturday, or a Sunday. When it comes to conduct, we all know the famous Chaplinsky versus New Hampshire case, the fighting words doctrine. You can't run into a movie theater and scream fire. You have no right to encourage people to fund a terrorist organization or stop people from getting inside a building or push them or intimidate them from getting their education.
Yeah, but
so
here's the problem.
Shame on the governor. Shame on the school.
I agree with you. And let's make sure that they do what they're supposed to do. Michael Wilds, you are a font of information. I can't thank you enough. What we've got now is the law is on our side as it relates to this whole issue. And now we need politicians to follow the law. We've got the president doing it. Let's make sure that we know the DA in New York County is not going to do it because he dropped all the charges. against those students. And we've got a bunch of fools running around thinking that this guy, Mahmoud Khalil, has the right to remain in this country. It's crazy stuff. Anyway, Michael Wilds, I want to thank you for joining us. You are a terrific person. I love you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Judge. Be well. Take care.
All right. You take care.